Wagwan everybody, Lennox here from Simple 123 Trader. This is the weekly outlook for the futures, currencies, indices, cryptos for the week of April 10th through to April 15th. Hope everybody's doing well. Taking a look at the US dollar starting off, and once again the US dollar for our Simple 123 Trader members always gives us an insight into what the major currencies are doing. So it's always a good thing to know what the overall direction of the US dollar, what the US dollar is doing, and so forth. So on the weekly time frame, you can see that we're currently in a very strong move to the upside. However, we're coming into a congestion area at this point. So we could be seeing a bit of congestion this week. Looking on, that's on the weekly time frame. On the daily time frame, we've just broken through a congestion area here and are pushing to the upside. But we do have a pin bar sitting at the top here, and that's going to be the catalyst, perhaps, to a sideways type of move for the remainder of the week. I'll just drop to the 4-hour to take a closer look, and on the 4-hour time frame, that big huge pin bar again could portend some weaker moves, maybe back down in the short term, at least for the US dollar. So maybe a little bit of a stumbling for the US dollar going into this week. So that would also be similar for if we look at the euro, which is doing the exact opposite of the US dollar. So if I go up to the daily on that, we were in a congestion mode for a while, and now we broke through that, but we're back down to support level. We could see a bounce at this point, similar to what's happening, well, what might happen with the US dollar. So down to the 4-hour, and you can see we have a pin bar going in the opposite direction. So we could see this move take us back up into this area before we see a turnaround to the downside. Okay, so essentially a retrace of this move is totally possible. We come back into this area. We could even go higher, but we're looking at least to this area before we turn around. So push to the upside for the euro. We can then look at other pairs like the Aussie, for instance, that we should be doing a similar type of pattern. And as you can see, we're also in a move to the downside. So let me go to the 4-hour daily on this one. And yes, you can see we've pushed to the downside. We could see a little bit of a move to the upside going into this week for the Aussie as well. Okay, and then let's take a look at the British pound. It is the Swiss franc, British pound. Here it is. British pound is also very weak on the daily, pushing to the downside, but we're at a support. So possibility of a rebound at that point as well for the British pound, but it looks quite weak overall. You can see on the weekly time frame, looking rather weak. And even though we're coming into a support area, we still look very weak, and we could just continue going down. So maybe a little bit different for the British pound. Looking at the Japanese yen, also has been super weak, and you can see that. I'm going to go to the monthly on this one. We're right at a support. Okay, so looks like again that we're just going to slice through the support and continue down. So not looking too good for Japanese yen overall. Very weak. All right, so that's a look at some of the currencies. The last one was the Swiss franc. Take a look at the Swiss franc. Also, I'll go up to the daily. It's been in a turbulent affair. I'm going to go to the weekly, and we'll see that even more clearly. You can see that we've been in quite a trench for a while, since last May, and we're still inside of it, in the midst of it, in essence, if we draw a line in the middle. and we're heading to the downside of this channel. So very much a lot of weakness in the Swiss franc overall. So looking for continued weakness going into the week, and not much room for any bounces. Even though we're sitting at a support area, we look like we're going to be falling right through. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin. And Bitcoin currently also looking a little bit weak, and we have we're inside of a large channel here and pushing down towards breaking through to the low, to the move to the downside. So not looking for any bounces at this point. If we any kind of bounce would be opportunities to sell Bitcoin. So looking rather weak overall. So I would see that continuing breaking the 40,000 level this week. So that would be similar for the Ethereum, and I think that's not Ethereum. I think that's ETC. Let me go to the daily. Okay, I think it should be Ethereum if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. Let's make sure. It is not. It's ETC. Again, I think it's Ethereum, but I might be incorrect. But it's also in a sideways move, but heading to the downside. Looking for a move to the downside for this particular instrument. I think it is Ethereum, ETC. Also, Litecoin would be similar in a sideways funk, looking to move to the downside. So continued pressure on the coins. Dogecoin, similar, also looking to move. We've had a nice run to the upside, but now we're turning back to the downside. So opportunities to sell. And Dash would be similar. Had a nice run to the upside, but now it's heading to the downside. All right, let's take a look at the current. Let's take a look at crude oil first. Crude oil. It has been quite weak, but we're now coming to we're sitting right on a very major support resistance area. And will it break through? That's going to be the key question for this week. Looking rather weak, and even though we're sitting at a support, if any kind of a bounce would be opportunities to sell into crude oil to the downside. We're looking at rather weak overall for crude oil going into this week. All right, let's take a look at silver. Where's my gold? Gold. Let's take a look at gold. Okay, so gold, I'm going to go up to the daily, is also sideways, has been kind of sideways inside this triangle, and up at the top of the triangle looking like it wants to continue to the downside in the short term. And you can see it's turned and is heading to the downside. So we're inside of a large triangle, and we're looking for price to push down towards the bottom of that lower triangle line. All right, so continued pressure on gold. Take a look at the US 500, and it too is under pressure and is looking to continue going south. So I don't see any reprieve for this instrument. Even though we're sitting at a very strong support area, we're going to break. It looks like we're going to be breaking through to the downside with some vigor and weakness in the US 500. US technology, similar setup. We're heading down. The Dow also looking very weak and bleak. So continued pressure on the US group, the US indices. The Russell also super weak and heading south as well. So opportunities to trade those to the downside. Any kind of bounces on these would be opportunities to sell going into the week. All right, so that's a look at what's setting up for the week. Profitable trading to everyone. We're done now. Thank you.